When that ACCA exam fraud case blew up, it was a huge wake-up call for, well, pretty much everyone in education. It really showed that even the big, well-funded institutions are at risk. So today, we're going to break down the 5 most common security gaps that fraudsters are just itching to exploit. And more importantly, we're going to give you a real, actionable plan so your institution doesn't become the next big headline.
And this quote, man, it just hits the nail on the head, right? It's not about building some kind of perfect, impenetrable fortress overnight. That's just not realistic. It's all about being constantly vigilant, always looking for those cracks in the wall and patching them up before someone else finds them for you.
So here's the uncomfortable truth, and we've got to face it. That ACCA incident, that wasn't some one-off fluke. It was a giant, flashing warning sign for all of us, because if a really sophisticated attack could get through their defenses, then it's a very real possibility for pretty much any institution. And that's exactly why understanding these weak points is, well, it's absolutely critical.
All right, so after looking at literally hundreds of different security setups, we've seen the same 5 critical gaps pop up over and over again. Think of these as the common denominators, the weak links in the chain that fraudsters are actively targeting, like right now. So let's dive in and take a closer look at each one.
Okay, gap number 1. This is a big one, the screen-camera disconnect. And honestly, it's a classic. So picture this. Your proctoring software has its eye on the candidate's face, right? It sees them, it sees they look focused, but it has zero clue what's actually happening on their screen. It's like watching a driver but not being able to see the dashboard or out the windshield. It's a massive, massive blind spot.
And this is exactly how cheaters take advantage of it. We're talking AI tools just humming away in a background window, spitting out answers, or a hidden browser open to a search engine. They can even use screen overlay tools to feed them information. To you, they look like a model student, totally focused, but really, their device is doing all the heavy lifting.
But hey, the good news is you can start plugging this hole right away. Seriously, this week. Ask yourself, does your system capture the entire screen, or is it just locked onto a single browser tab? You absolutely need full desktop recording, and you've got to have application monitoring to see every single piece of software that's running.
All right, let's move on to the second big vulnerability. And this one is all about who is actually sitting in that chair. We call it point-in-time identity verification. Basically, it means you check someone's ID once, right at the very beginning, and then you just cross your fingers and assume that the same person who started the exam is the one who's going to finish it.
And you'd be shocked at how easy this is to defeat. The real student logs in, gets verified, and then, poof, they swap out with an expert, an impersonator who takes over. Or maybe someone is just sitting right off camera, whispering all the answers. Your one-time ID check at the beginning, it's completely blind to all of this.
So what's the fix? It's all about continuous authentication. You can throw in random challenges during the exam, like a quick pop-up that says, hey, prove you're still you. Even better, you can use something called behavioral biometrics. It's really cool tech that analyzes the unique way someone types or moves their mouse, creating a digital fingerprint. And of course, you can just enable continuous facial recognition to make sure the right face is in front of that screen the entire time.
Next up, gap number 3, network blindness. What does that mean? Well, think about it this way. Your exam system is basically flying blind when it comes to the data going in and out of the student's computer. You have no visibility into what they're sending out or what they're bringing in. And this is where it gets really dangerous. Students could be literally stealing your exam content, question by question. They could be getting answers fed to them in real time through some hidden messaging app, or they might be using a VPN or a proxy to completely hide what they're doing. And without that network visibility, you are completely in the dark. Okay, so the immediate action here is pretty clear. You need to start seeing that traffic. First, figure out what normal network activity even looks like during one of your exams. Then, at the absolute minimum, you need to start logging all network connections and turn on detection for VPNs and proxies. It's time to turn the lights on.
Now for our 4th gap. We're going to zoom out a bit here from the individual to the bigger picture. It's called statistical isolation. This is what happens when you look at each exam as its own little island, totally separate from all the others. You're so focused on the individual trees that you completely miss the forest. And trust me, that's exactly where the large-scale organized cheating is hiding.
I mean, this is the playbook for the professional cheating rings. They're coordinating this stuff across different time zones.
And when you look at the data, you start to see these weird clusters, groups of students with identical, bizarre answer patterns, or they all finish in a suspiciously similar amount of time. If you only look at one exam at a time, you'd never ever catch it.
So how do you fight this? You fight data with data. You have to start running similarity analysis across all of your exam results. Compare how this group did against historical benchmarks, flag those weird timing patterns. Basically, you need to let your data tell you the real story of what's happening beneath the surface.
And that brings us to our fifth and final gap, the post-exam intelligence void. This one's a killer. It's what happens when you do catch someone cheating, but then you don't learn anything from it. There's no system in place to figure out how they did it and then use that intel to make your defenses stronger for the next time.
And the result of that? It's predictable. The same cheating methods just keep working, exam after exam. Your institution stays static, it never learns. While the cheaters are out there constantly innovating and sharing new techniques, you're basically stuck in a race where you're always a step behind.
To fix this, you need to create a learning loop. It's that simple. Schedule regular forensic reviews after every big exam. Create a feedback system so that what you find actually gets used to update your security rules, and write it all down. Document these patterns so you can build your own internal library of threat intelligence.
Okay, so we've walked through the 5 big scary gaps. Now it's time to get personal. How does your institution measure up? Let's run through a quick checklist and find out where you might be exposed.
So take a good, hard look at this list. Full desktop recording. Do you have that? What about continuous facial recognition? VPN detection? Just run down the list and be really honest with yourself. How many of these boxes are unchecked at your organization today? Because every single one of those unchecked boxes, that's an open door for fraud.
Feeling a little exposed? Yeah, that's totally normal. But look, awareness is always the first step. So now that we know where the problems are, let's turn that anxiety into a concrete, actionable plan.
Now, let's be clear. This is not an overnight fix. You don't have to do everything at once. This is a phased approach. You start with the quick wins in the first month, the low-hanging fruit, to get some immediate results. Then you move on to closing those core gaps, and from there you build out to a really comprehensive long-term protection plan.
Where you can build momentum right now, like in the next 72 hours. Today, share this with your team. Get a meeting on the calendar. This week, go through that assessment and figure out what your single biggest gap is. And by the end of the month, start drafting that Phase 1 plan. These are small, manageable steps that can lead to huge changes.
So it all comes down to this. The difference between the institutions that catch this stuff and the ones that end up as a cautionary tale in the news, it's not luck. It's having layers of smart, comprehensive security. It's about systematically closing these 5 gaps one by one, starting with your most vulnerable point. So the final question isn't just a thought exercise, it's urgent. What is your institution's single biggest security gap, and what are you going to do about it this week?